With his battles now won, Lord, his song it was sung while the tune to sweet Dixie did play. If they carry me back on that long southern track, I hope you will answer my plea. When they lower me down in that sweet Georgia ground, have someone play Dixie for me. When they lower me down in that sweet Georgia ground, have someone play Dixie for me. Thank you a lot.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here near the shopping mall.
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on WOOP FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.woopfm.com. Call us here in the studio at 614-5553. My lovely wife, Debbie Moore, tell us about the program today.
Good morning, Ron. We're going to be talking about sports in the area and anything else you guys want to talk about this morning. We have some of our good, loyal listeners in here with us this morning. We have Doyle Palmer, who can talk about anything from basketball to skinning a squirrel. And we have Sylvia and Ed Coates. This is an all-time first, Ron.
Why is that?
We have a Yankee in the house.
Oh, no.
Ouch.
I thought Doyle was from here.
No, Ed's been here long enough, and Sylvia brought him in, so it's okay.
If he'll say y'all or yuns or something like that, I think he's official.
Yeah, or ain't.
Hi, y'all.
Hey, there you go. With
he's a fast learner.
The difference between y'all and all y'all is y'all means one person, all y'all means everybody.
There you go.
So you just
I got you.
All
right. Or you can say yuns.
Yuns. Yeah,
Yuns.
that's a real local
Yuns.
thing there.
Well, Ron, tell everybody about Cleveland Works down at the Five Point Museum.
Yeah, there's a new exhibit down at the Museum Center down at 5 Points, and a new exhibit area also that they've created down there. And it's about local industries at the turn of the century, the last century, not this century, or the one before that, I guess I should say, the 19th century when it came, and talking about Brownstows and Hardwicks and, of course, Dixie Foundries and the printing companies and the Cleveland Coffin Company, which was over on right off Inman Street. They have a display about that, and encourage you to go down and see the museum. It opened up yesterday, and the exhibit runs through October, but don't wait. Go down and see the museum. It's our hometown museum, and we need people to come out and support it.
Tell them you heard about it right here on Old Town Cleveland, and they also are very nice to carry my books down there. Confederate Voices has been a big seller down there, and also the little documentary about Caney Creek has really sold well down there, and I appreciate you guys going by and picking those up.
Speaking of Caney Creek, we'll be in Maryville College tomorrow night where they're showing it. And
the public's invited. So if you know anyone that lives up in the Maryville area, we will be at the Lawson Auditorium at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. And they invited us to come to show it to a group of teachers who are going to have the opportunity to canoe across the river on Monday and actually visit the site. And but everybody's invited to come, and that's at Maryville College tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on Sunday night.
This is interesting because these are math teachers who are going to go there to learn to do a lesson in math about Caney Creek. I've got to figure how that all adds up. But I guess I'll figure how you figure out foundation, square
footage and all that
Okay.
kind of stuff. Also, we have to mention the fact that we have a good friend that passed this week, and that's Nancy Adams, who is also Blake Mylan's mother.
Mylan Blake.
Mylan Blake's mother-in-law. So we would like to pass that on. She was a longtime educator here in Bradley County and very well respected.
Only class I made an A in.
Well, she must have liked you because that's the only way you can make an A, Ron.
That's right.
That's right. We'd like to once again say thanks to Boyd Speedway, which let us come down last night and shoot more footage for our upcoming dirt track documentary. And if you guys have got pictures, movies, stories, we need those now about any dirt track racers. We're focusing on the racers.
We had onboard cameras on a couple of cars last night, and one of them wrecked with our camera in it. So
we hated to act excited when he wrecked, but we really were.
And then our son got to go up on the flag stand and film the flagman, which he's afraid of heights, and that was not a pleasure because the stand vibrates. And
the wind.
Their car's going 100 miles underneath him. So
And dirt.
he was real happy when the shot was over and got to come down.
Yeah,
so.
that's right. And please go down and visit our friends down at Red Clay State Park today and tomorrow, 10 to 5. We used to call it Cherokee Days, and I'm not sure what they're calling it these days, but they'll have Cherokee dancers. I think you might find a piece of fried bread down there somewhere.
Well, that got
All
me.
the Cherokees say they're fueled on fried bread. That's some good stuff.
And one of our sponsors, we got to say, is that the Stampers, is their final sales day is today. They're open from 10 to 5. They're open right now. If you're going to drive in your car, keep it tuned to Whoop. Go in and make a good purchase down at Stampers. Final days of their sales, so go
Good
down by
quality
Stampers.
furniture at Stampers. They've
And,
been on the courthouse square. Started out as a hardware store down
And
there.
go in and tell Joe Stamper that he needs to be on Old Town Cleveland. We've
That's
tried
right.
to get Joe to come on, and he says, no, I couldn't do radio. So you go tell Joe that you'll buy some furniture if he'll come and agree to be on Old Town Cleveland. So how's
And
that,
he
Joe?
does. He listens to us every Saturday morning down at Stampers, and we're glad to have him tune in. But would like for him to come on and talk about his family, Otto Stamper,
Otto Stamper.
up out of Ocoee.
All right, guys. You got anything else on the?
that's it.
Okay, Doyle Palmer, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great today. How's Ron and Debbie?
We're
We're doing
good. We
great.
saw you down at the fair last week. Doyle, what'd you think about that fair?
I was at the fair. I enjoyed it. I hope it was a success, and I think we need to give a shout out to the people that worked so hard to put it on.
It was a really great, one of the biggest nights there with Ricky Skaggs there, which I enjoyed, and one of his fiddle players, Andy Lefowitz, which is probably the most amazing musician that I've ever seen.
Ron got so excited when he saw the fiddle player, and we won. We won ribbons for our corn relish and our
salsa,
sweet
my
pickle.
habanero peppers,
Uh-huh.
and some photography.
And we brought
We
home
are
a grand,
award winners now.
Yeah, we
That's
brought home
great.
a grand total of $14 in awards money.
There's one other person over there I'd like to mention. Doesn't get any publicity. His name is Mac Hess, and Mac is the manager of the Tri-State Center, and he really works hard daily.
I was
to
so
keep
proud
it
of that
going.
one.
That's
I mean,
a great,
you know,
great place to have events.
when we first started going over there, it was nothing more than a rocky hill. And now they've got the big pavilions over there, and everything just looks like it's very well kept. And it's something that Bradley County should be and is proud of. And if you don't pay attention to what's going on over there, sometimes, there's huge horse shows and things going on over there.
Yeah.
But Ricky Skaggs was wonderful, and Mustang Sally, and the food was great. So be sure to go out and support the fair
the
next year.
barbecue contest, just walking around seeing all those barbecues and smelling it, it was very good. How's Ed and Sylvia Coates today?
Well, we made it here together, so that's one start.
Well, that's good. It's good to see both of you. I've known you folks for a long time, watch your sons play ball and tennis, and so a big part of the community here. And Ed taught me badminton in college, and I won the boys tournament. And
Yes, indeed. I still remember that.
Yeah, and the girls champion beat me like I wasn't even there. I might as well just stayed and laid out of class that day because I think she beat me 15-0 or whatever the score was. It was
I even remember that more, Ron.
yeah. Oh, I tried to forget that, but yeah. So and took tennis from you also, and loved playing tennis. And then I found out that racquetball was better for me because I didn't have to chase the ball as far.
Then he'd want me to play racquetball with him, but he was just too big and too mean to be in that little room with him with a paddle.
Well, today we're going to talk about local sports history and, of course, anything else the
I've
college
got
want to
something
talk
I
about.
want to ask Doyle about.
Okay, ask Doyle.
Doyle, we posted a picture on Facebook of some kids playing marbles down in Chattanooga a long time ago, probably before you was born. But that brought up the subject that you had helped some kids be in a marble tournament. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Well, tell
That
me
would
about
have
it.
been in the 1960s. I was teaching 6th grade at North Lee Elementary, and the American Legion sent a bag of marbles to each elementary school and told us to practice. And on a date there in, I guess in the spring of the year on a Saturday, we reported to Arnold Junior High, and they drew circles in the dirt, and we had a shoot-off, and my guy won. His name was Billy Stowe. A lot of people know Billy. He's around town.
I know Billy.
Billy played basketball for me at North Lee Elementary. He played some at Bradley. And Billy beat all competitors that day, which we had probably 14 or 15 competitors in his class. And Billy rode that bicycle probably 75 to 100,000 miles. He absolutely wore it out.
Well, good. It's always nice when a kid that really wants a bicycle wins one.
So that was my early days of learning gambling, right? Marbles, bet.
So,
you had to bet. Yeah.
Doyle, did the kids then knew how to play marbles, or did you find some that didn't know that, or they didn't really realize it was a strategy game?
There was probably a few of them that hadn't played much, but back then the marble game was more popular. Mm-hmm. Now you don't see kids playing marbles.
No, I carried my little purse to elementary school, and my marbles were in my bag. That's all that was in there. Mm-hmm. So that after school, when I was waiting on the bus, I could win me some more marbles because I was pretty mean at it.
And I got mine down at Lay's on Ocoee Street. You went downstairs and they had the marbles downstairs. Mm-hmm. That's where I bought mine.
I think one reason that it lost its popularity, somewhere along the way, someone decided that the marbles were dangerous for small children. They would swallow them, get choked, so they went off the market.
Though I'm assuming that the saying, "You lost your marbles," came from the South.
I assume that they were probably from Knoxville somewhere.
Marbles was a big thing. I know we played it, but now you use your thumbs for other things, video games and all that. And I guess, and your hand-eye coordination just not as good. If you learned how to shoot marbles, you learned a lot about that. And of course, playing in the dirt helped a lot too.
I played with my brothers too. We would draw the big circle and have the marbles. And was there something called steelies?
Oh yeah,
that was a thing.
A ball bearing, basically.
Kind of
what
steel
it was.
like
Yeah,
that.
steely ball.
Yes.
Yeah, you had cat eyes, and there was names for all of them. Yeah, and you put your cat eyes out in the middle, so that because they were the cheap marbles, and you'd lose those, but you'd have your good shooters there. Then every once in a while, you'd have a tournament where you'd say you had to put your good marble out in there and lose it, and you could lose your good marbles real easy.
You also had a loggy. You had a line, and if you had 5 players, we rolled it to the line to see who got to go first.
Oh yeah. Well, the other thing is that we just that simple type games are just gone now. It's all electronics, and my friend always talks about he was poor, and the best game they ever got was pickup sticks. And he says it was a thing you threw the sticks down on the ground and you picked them back up. He said, wasn't a lot to it,
Yeah.
I said there was a few more rules than that. He said, well, we couldn't read back in. We just threw the sticks down. We all picked them up and put them back in the thing. So I bought him a set for Christmas about 2 years ago. But they were the jumbo size. They were about 3 foot long, so because he can't see as good as he used to as we get older.
Who's this picture of, Ron?
That is the 1962 state championship basketball team at Bradley High School.
Those guys look very familiar to me.
Yeah.
I see a lot of flat top hairdos.
Steve Gibson, Steve Sloan. I can't think who some of the other guys in there.
Lloyd Hewitt.
Yeah.
Lloyd Hewitt,
Jerome
Steve
Brumley.
Sloan, Dan Watkins, Barkley Guerin.
Jerry Godfrey and David Terrell and Terry Stanfield.
Yes.
And, of course, Coach Walker. We all loved Coach Walker.
Coach Bill Walker. He was my algebra teacher, and he was really good.
He was my plane geometry teacher.
I never got that far now.
Oh.
But I was doing real good in algebra, but in the middle of my freshman year, he got this promotion to become the superintendent of schools, and then we got a new algebra teacher, and it got harder. But of course, Coach Walker had ways of demonstrating. He hung me almost out the window of Bradley Central High School on the back in that back hall to make an example of how we were talking about if a plane drops a bomb, which way does it go? And I said, well, it goes backwards. And he says, no, it goes forward. And so he tried to explain all that. So finally, he hung me out the window with a piece of chalk. He says, tell me which way this chalk goes. And I got it, He had a way of making examples of things, but just a great man, I think.
Coach Walker helped me a lot in the early years of my coaching. He and Johnny Oldham at Tennessee Technological University, now it was Tennessee Polytechnic Institute then. I learned most of the basketball that I put into my coaching strategy from Johnny Oldham and Bill Walker.
Doyle, I go back and look at some of the old history pictures and everything, and I got a picture of you and Bill Talley at a Cleveland Bradley baseball game, and you're going, it was just, these are people that, as my childhood, I watched grow up. And I hate to make you sound older, but you are.
All right.
But you are.
It's all right.
Those type things.
Happy to be here, right?
And then the football pictures, like I say, you were my freshman football coach, you and Coach Denton, Coach Montgomery. And so I never sweat so much in my life. It was 104 degrees that summer. So they ought to play football when it's colder. But Sylvia, tell us when you played at Bradley High School.
Well, I went there my freshman year, the same year Coach Smitty came. He arrived at the same time I did. And out of the 101 girls who went out for basketball that first year with my freshman team, only 3 of us were left for the end, and that was Mabel DeLay, Sally Nearen, and I. And Carolyn Owens graduated with us and became a starter my senior year, but she didn't come out that first year.
Now, was Coach Smitty that rules, straight-laced guy then as he was years ago?
He was so tough on us. He was much tougher. Even the 70s team said he had slackened a little bit, which wasn't much, I'm sure. But if you didn't absolutely love basketball with a passion, you would never have played for him, because he demanded so much from you, but he gave so much himself, too. We could always admire him because he would always let us have prayer. He led it himself, and he wanted us to be ladies on the court as well as good players.
He wanted you to be ladies all the time, I think. Yeah, off the court too. You had to be pretty straight. Yeah. And did he have that basic, this is the way you shoot the basketball, those early days?
Well, I came in from Mayfield School, and Mabel was from Blythe Avenue and Sally from Arnold, and he came to watch us play in the 8th grade. So as soon as we got through with all the exercises and everything that first day, he told me he wanted me to shoot my best shot. So at that time, I was very tiny, and I did a 2-hand set, and I would have to bring it down to the floor almost to get the power I needed to get it to the goal. He smacked that thing almost down my throat when I shot that first shot, and he said, I don't want to ever see you shoot a shot like that again. Said, if you bring it down below your chest, you're off the team. But then by my...
So basically, it was just straight up here by your head, right? Wasn't it?
My
Sort of
2-hand set, came out from my chest like.
Yeah.
But my junior year, he saw a girl play in the state tournament our sophomore year. Shelby Hicks was her name. She played for Milan. She got killed in an automobile accident that summer, and for some reason he was really touched by that, and he said, I can see you shooting that same shot that she had, and it was the overhead shot, which I guess made me famous at that time. But I shot that thing hours and hours, started right by the basket and worked my way out so that it was like in 3-point range.
Who was
I realize that the
I guess
Civil
I've come to a conclusion with just about everything that I have to, every question that I have to ask at this time.
If you lean on this button over here, it gets you.
Matador, get away from here.
Matador's under
He haunts me all the
he's
time.
under the desk.
Who was the big nemesis of Bradley High School when you played? Cleveland wasn't built yet, right?
No, right.
Yeah.
For us, McMinn and Polk at the time, who were very tough in the district, and then Porter Maryville Porter, and then Wallen. That was the other two girls' teams that were really good that we hoped to play, because if we played them, we knew it was in a big tournament somewhere.
So what was your record, your years?
We were 38-1. We lost to Wallen in the Maryville tournament and then played them in the state finals. So that was really a good motivation for us because we wanted
38-1's
revenge.
not bad. I mean, a lot of people like to have that. That's just unbelievable. Coach Smitty is just, his legend's unbelievable. At one time, he was the winningest coach in America. There's a couple of people have passed him now, but I was there when he won the 1,000th game, and then he went on to 1,200. So, and he never counted any of his boys' victories in his count. He had another 200 games of boys' victories at Charleston that he never would put in his count. He said, "I'm a girls' basketball coach."
Well, at Charleston, he coached my brother Jerry.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He would bring him home, and he would see me outside shooting. We had a goal over on 17th Street outdoors. If you hit this certain stump-like thing, it would roll a mile down the hill. So he brought Jerry home one day, and he saw me hit that route and take off running down the hill. I'd run a mile down there to get the ball, and then I'd run back up the hill and then continue shooting. So he told my brother, he said, "That girl's got determination," and he said, "I want her on my team someday." So he coached my brother at Charleston. He coached my Aunt Lucille Taylor at Charleston. He coached my two cousins, Virginia and Helen Lauderdale. And then my Aunt Dot Lauderdale, she's Donald Ledford's mother. Another coach had her at Charleston, but my legacy, I guess, started in Charleston because I was for Charleston for a long time.
Just an amazing career and a person there. Ed, where did you go to school? We may not have heard of it, but where was it?
Of course, you've heard of it. It's a little school up in New York on the Hudson River, about 15 miles north of New York City, called Tappan Zee High School.
Oh, so did you play sports?
I would say that sports has been a part of my life ever since I could walk.
I knew that. I just wanted you to tell everybody that.
Maybe Sylvia will tell.
Yeah. Now, the question I have is, how did you get so extremely smart and find somebody like Sylvia to marry and to come to Cleveland, Tennessee? How did you get that brilliant? What brought that along?
Well, there had to be some divine intervention in that process.
Uh-huh.
But I was just talking about that yesterday at our in-service over at Ocoee Middle.
Uh-huh.
And there had to be some kind of a master plan above for us to have ever even met each other.
So where did you meet Sylvia?
We actually met at Middle Tennessee State, and I had some classes with her, and kind of liked the way she looked, liked the way she talked, liked that Southern talk. And I decided to ask her out, and she was a little nervous about me. I don't understand why.
Oh, I could see it.
But we decided to go to a basketball court, which was, I guess, inevitable. But there was this one girl over at Middle Tennessee that had a crush on me. So she thought she could play basketball, and I said, well, let's go out to the gym. We'll play a little bit. And so I killed her pretty quickly, and she said, well, I have a friend that can really shoot. I said, well, bring her on. Bring on the whole family. I was a little cocky back then.
Back then?
So
I was going to say that.
Yes.
So
It
I've
hadn't
mellowed.
changed.
Hey, be quiet when I'm talking. So we proceeded to play horse, and to make a long story short, she beat me 3 games out of 5, and I never got over that. Actually, I actually got so mad I married her.
Paid her back, didn't you?
Yeah, and she's been paying ever since.
That's a great story.
Actually, the first time we met officially was during that game. He hadn't talked to me at all before the game. I didn't know anything about him. I hadn't even noticed him in class even. And so this girl told me that there was this real cocky Yankee that didn't think girls could play sports and that he wanted to shoot basketball with me. So I said, okay, I figured I could shoot with anybody. So she brought him in the gym, and he had these real floppy, awful-looking socks down before Pete Maravich's time. And I thought, God, no, I'm not going to like him at all. And he had a mustache, which scared me to death. I was very innocent and naive when I met him. So the only thing I knew was that I just could shoot with him. And so I didn't even ask him his name or anything. We just shot the game, and then I won. I went over and shook hands with him and left the court. So after that, he must have determined
It
to
was his
pursue
move.
me. Yes.
That's fine.
That's
So
the
that-
correct story.
One question about your high school, Ed. What was the enrollment back then?
Well, that's a funny thing too, because everybody, when you say you're from New York, they think, "Oh my goodness, the Big Apple. Everything's big in New York, like Texas." The funniest thing is, Tappan Zee High School was the smallest school in the county, and there was like 200 and something kids in the whole school. There was 49 kids in my graduating class. So, and then you turn it around and you think, well, down in a little town, Cleveland, that'd probably be a little school. At Sylvia's class, how many graduated?
Over 300 in my
Yeah,
senior
yeah,
class.
mine
Which
was
is the
close
opposite
to
of what you
400.
think.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
big school. Bradley was.
We got up to almost 600 graduates there before they
Wow.
built Cleveland, and later on
Yeah.
now we have Walker Valley. So
And Sylvia, you attended the real Bradley High School, right? The one
Yes.
on Ocoee
The
Street.
real Bradley
Yeah,
High
that's
School,
what we
yes.
call it. I was in the
And that-
last class of that from the old school. Yeah, we graduated in May, and they opened this up in down on South Lee in August.
was
So-
that a 9 through 12 school or
Yeah.
10?
9 through 12 when I was at
No,
Bradley.
in New York.
Yes, it was not. We had grammar school from kindergarten through 8th, and then high school was 9 through 12.
All on the same campus.
Yes, campus was quite small.
All right, yeah, you would think all the New York schools, be first thing it'd be 3,000 or 4,000 kids per school or something like that.
But in the county, to put it in perspective, in the county we had 7 high schools, and we were the smallest. There were some that were quite large, but we all had to play each other, and so with a school of enrollment of 200 playing a school with an enrollment of 1,500, you were kind of at a disadvantage. But you still only start with 5 people.
That's right. Play 5 people. That's right.
Well, and you'd have to play multiple sports for the teams to make, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. At
All
that
right,
school.
I'm going to ask you a tough question here now. Over the years that you three have been here, pick any sport. Who do you think was the greatest athlete that played in this area? You could say someone who visited Bradley, or someone who played at Bradley, or Cleveland, or Charleston, or Doyle. You want to go with that first, or Sylvia? you got-
What I would like to do is just mention the person that I remember as putting on the greatest performance in one day.
All right.
His name was Darwin Bond. He was from Kingsport, Dobbins, Bennett. He won the 100 yards, the 200, and the 440, all in the same day at the region track meet. Darwin Bond.
Darwin Bond.
He played for Kingsport, Dobbins, Bennett, and later went on to UT. He was a track star.
What year was that, Doyle?
That was sometime in the early 70s, early to middle 70s. I was at Bradley at that time.
Do you think he was a trained athlete at that time, or was he just a lot of natural talent?
He was natural, plus
Good trainer.
they had a real good track team, good track program at Kingsport, and it wasn't token competition. We're talking a guy that ran a 10-second 10-1 100. Now it's 100 meters and 200, but back then it was yards.
When Herschel Walker first went to Georgia, one of the coaches come in and told Vince Dooley, says, "This kid don't know how to run," and Vince says, "Don't teach him."
Don't mess with him.
I mean, he said he doesn't run properly. And I go, he does pretty good. He had
We sent Kenny Hooper down to play football and tell him about meeting Herschel Walker.
Oh, yeah. Kenny met Herschel Walker on the football field, Georgia, and we went down to watch, and they had moved Kenny to fullback. To linebacker, excuse me. And Herschel come around the left side, and Kenny met him head on. And they sort of both stood up and still grinding and sort of going sideways. And, of course, 4 or 5 other guys from Mississippi finally hit him and helped him take Herschel Walker out of bounds. But Kenny told me later, saying, I was glad help showed up because he was getting ready to leave me. He said that was the hardest hit he'd ever got. So that was amazing. Sylvia, who's your greatest player of all time around here?
I've been thinking about that. I would never be able to say one person because over the years I've seen so many wonderful athletes here. I think we've been fortunate here to have so many
But
great
who's one
athletes.
that just
But the one thing now that you mentioned that stands out in my mind would be when my son Eddie beat Roscoe Tanner in tennis, because Roscoe, our other son is named Tanner, so he was kind of like a sports hero for us. And I don't know what made me think of that because I'm half crazy, I guess, but I think seeing him beat a person like Roscoe Tanner made me know the level he could play.
Ed, you've seen a lot of Cleveland and Bradley and people play, and
Well, I'm a lot like Sylvia. We've been around sports our whole lives, all the way from New York down here, and there have been so many tremendous athletes. This is a wonderful county for sports. I will have to say that. Back in the early days, when I was a bit younger, I was coaching a lot of AAU basketball, and there's one boy that kind of comes to mind. I hate to single out one person, but his name was Dante Hickey. I don't know if that name rings a bell to any of you. Dante played basketball for me, and of course he high jumped, and then he could have been a professional football player, I think, had he,
Dante
gone
was,
on the right road all the way through. But things happen.
Dante was a great running back for Cleveland, and he also played safety, and he played in the Kentucky-Tennessee All-Star game. And at linebacker, he hit some guy, and I don't know if he stopped rolling yet. I'd never seen anybody get destroyed by anybody, one player. Hey, Deb, do you have one?
Who did that wallop of a hit between Bradley and Cleveland 3 or 4 years ago at Bradley?
Risenhoover.
Ah.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest hits at the stadium. I've got my favorite all-time athlete that I ever got to watch was Paul Carruthers from Lakeview, was it?
No, yes.
Lafayette.
No, Lafayette.
Yeah.
That's right.
He,
Lafayette, Georgia.
He come up and they played Bradley my freshman year, and Carruthers touched the ball 5 times, scored 5 times, didn't play the rest of the game. He went on and played for the University of Tennessee. And then, of course, my, gosh, either basketball, your sons, I love seeing them play basketball. Kenny Hooper probably, I think, is the best running back Bradley ever had, even compared to Andy Ballinger's and, other Gifford Centers, and you think all but Kenny Hooper, his senior year, ran 1,100 yards on 100 carries, which gave him 11-yard average, and he was the fullback. Wow. And so he went on to play for Ole Miss. So he's probably my all-time favorite performer.
Well, I'd like to mention one more, excluding my sons, because of course I'm prejudiced. I was fortunate and blessed to play at the same time as Steve Sloan, and I have never seen a person as fine a person as he is, along with his many attributes in sports. He could play any sport, and he's the most humble person. He has not changed. I still see him often when he's in town, and I feel lucky to have played with him too, because he's just one of the most outstanding in every way that you could know.
Well, that's Kenny Hooper went on to Ole Miss because Sloan was coaching there, and Sloan was a really good recruiter.
And you have to mention the Johnson boys.
Oh, all 3 of the Paul, Tom, and Bob, all played starting centers at their high school. Bob and Tom went to Bradley, Paul went to Cleveland, and then they all started for UT, which is pretty amazing.
And Bill went to UT also.
Yeah, Bill did.
I think, was he a manager? He did something
I don't know what
there,
Bill did. He's the doctor, right?
Yes, I taught Paul. He was in my class at Cleveland High School because I have a real strong ties to Cleveland High School too. I got to coach there, and I feel really lucky to have been associated with Bradley and Cleveland. So I've seen a lot of good sports there. But Paul was the funniest student. You never would have thought he was part of the Johnson clan when he was in class.
Now, Bob was probably a freshman or sophomore year, senior year?
Bob was a sophomore my senior year.
Pretty
and Bill
big
was the junior.
Bob was a pretty big boy even then, wasn't he?
Yes, very,
Yeah, they said he was a gentleman, too.
Oh, yes. All the Johnsons were.
Yeah. So.
Paul was just very funny. He was.
And Tom grew out of it, though, didn't he? Yeah, being real
yes,
polite.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
You said that, not me.
Oh, I can say that. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron. Deb, how you doing?
Hey, Bullet. What's up, buddy?
I was going to ask Mr. Palmer, does he recognize the name Corky Whitlock?
Corky Whitlock.
Corky who?
Corky Whitlock. I believe that he's the guy that worked at WBAC on the morning show. And he spent and has spent a lot of years broadcasting high school athletic events for Bradley Central.
Yeah.
And I remember a few times we went to the East Tennessee Elementary basketball tournament and broadcast some of those games back to Cleveland.
Corky is a legend in the sports world, and we've invited him to be on our show a couple of times, and he's declined. So maybe Doyle can talk him into coming over.
And for a good reason. He is very loyal to WBAC, and this is we compete against him. So he's loyal, and but always very nice.
Well, he started his career when I was playing basketball.
Yeah.
First night he ever announced a game, we were playing Polk County, I think, and they froze the ball on us. And he and Paul Kirksey were down there on the floor with us, almost where they announced. Mabel DeLay and I were standing there, and we never got the ball because they were freezing it on the other end. And Corky would look at us and shake his head, and we'd look at him and shake our head because we didn't know what to do. At halftime, it was 8-8, but then we blew them out the second half. But that's when Corky started.
I just asked that as a kid, and really, cause,
Yeah, we know you.
anybody knows anything about Bradley High School knows Corky Whitlock and Doyle Palmer. Ron, I'd like to bring up something to your guest. Do they think anybody that ever beat Cleveland's record of winning 3 straight championships is right here in Cleveland?
Well, that in football, that's pretty darn tough. 3 straight is, if you win 1, you're lucky. To win back-to-back, you're lucky. Maryville College probably has won 8 in a row. Maryville High School. But I don't know if we'll ever do it again or not. It's so tough. It's tough to do it in any sport.
Is he talking about football or
Yeah, football.
Brown? Oh.
One of our problems now is that we have 3 high schools. We have a limited amount of talent, and it's split up, and it's going to be very difficult for one school to get enough talent together on one team through their junior and senior season to be able to compete with some of the larger schools around the state.
They have all the seniors in there. It's hard to do the 1962 Bradley High thing where they won everything because all the talent was there.
Anyway, I'm going to bring up 2 players that I think should be voted best players all around. Is Kevin and Keith Cobb, and I watched them play from their start to the finish, and but that's who. And talking about Gary Godfrey a while ago. He's been a friend of mine ever since 55, 56. I know Gary, and I just talked to him here about a week ago, and he was a good basketball player. And but like you say, Steve Sloan in that list too. Steve Sloan's going to be hard to beat.
Sure is. There's some great athletes out there.
Anyway, guys, I'm enjoying the show.
Thanks,
Thank
Robert,
you.
for calling
Thank
in.
you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
That was Robert Goins, if you don't know Bullet's real name.
Okay.
Andy Ballinger.
Everybody has
Andy Ballinger, sophomore your year?
He was behind me. I think he was a junior.
Was he junior? Yeah, Andy Ballinger, unbelievable running back for Bradley, and my cousin played on the team with him, Bruce Epperson, and I think he was a halfback, so he was right behind.
He was.
Andy's. Unfortunately, Andy passed away about a year, 2 years ago now. Yeah. So let's get this call here. Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
We're super.
Good. What's going on this morning?
My husband, the Korean veteran, is at the farmer's market, got fresh corn, 2 different kinds of green beans, white half runners, and lazy beans. They don't have strings on them. And he's got potatoes, he's got tomatoes, he's got cucumbers. He's got a variety of stuff.
All righty. And what color's his truck?
Blue with a white camper on it, and he's at Peerless Road Market, honey.
And he's got on his Korean war veteran hat.
Yes, he has, honey.
Well,
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Does he sell to Yankees?
I don't know. Are you a Yankee?
Yeah. Haven't you been listening to the radio?
He's got good tomatoes.
He's a Southern Yankee.
Yeah, he's got good cucumbers and good tomatoes.
all righty. When you folks go by and see him, tell him you heard about it on Whoop. Thank you, darling. Have a good week.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Sylvia, you ever fed him poke salad yet?
Yeah. Have I had poke salad?
Yeah, have you ever fed it to
Yes,
yeah.
he cooks it for me.
Oh, really?
Oh, my.
He's a chef, too.
that's
You may
good.
not know that, but he
Ah.
is a chef.
So how do you cook your poke salad, Yankee man?
Till it's done.
In a skillet.
In a skillet with some...
Kill it and put it in a skillet.
Yeah.
Kill it and put it in the
You
skillet. Hey, see, he has one.
use what kind of oil do you use for seasoning?
No, seriously, I do a lot of cooking at home because, we both still working full time, and we come home both kind of tired, and I appreciate so much what she does. And I have a background in cooking. I took it in junior college and some in high school, and I was going to become a chef at one time. So it's very easy for me to throw together a meal, much more so than it would be her, and it's,
I love it.
something that helps.
I'm real good too at drive-throughs.
Some people mix eggs with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have mixed little eggs in.
Yeah,
it.
Mom.
Hey, good morning. You live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, that's T Bandy.
Hey, T Bandy.
Hey,
T.
T,
Bandy.
glad you're feeling better, buddy. What's up?
I got a fish truck coming August 11th. I mean 10th.
August the 10th on Saturday morning, you're going to have a fish truck
Morning,
at the Bradley Farmers Co-op. What
11 to
time?
12, yeah.
Do they need
I
to
got one of the prettiest nurses here. They are. You've been working on me.
He's feeling better. The nurses are there.
Well, that'll help.
So the truck will be there from 11 to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to pre-order?
She went to the cowboy church last night. She's been happy this morning.
Okay, well, good. Did do they need to pre-order their fish?
Not necessarily. They help if they just call that number 478-2405. But they don't have to. They can walk up. And
Now, what kind of fish do people need for their ponds right now, T?
to eat that algae out, they need them carp.
All righty, and you'll have those, right?
I'll have those there. They will.
Sounds good, buddy. Thank
Okay.
you. Glad you're feeling better. Thanks for
Okay.
calling in.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
He's had a heck of a time. I'm glad to hear his voice and him sounding all strong this morning.
Yep, he had 2 knees put in. Yeah, I'm headed that way. It's that
Me
way.
too, Ron.
Yeah, I'm going. So
Let's let them get their knees done at the
All
same
right.
time. Me, you'll take turns taking care of them, so we don't have to put up with them all the time.
Back to the poke salad.
got any money?
For a long time.
I mentioned some people mix eggs with it. At my house, we put narrow dock with it also. There's a broad dock and a narrow dock, and it grows wild like the poke, so it makes it better.
well, I don't know that one, Doyle. I have to admit. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning.
I think we lost him.
Okay, call back.
We could go over to Doyle's house sometime and
And see the
taste his
dog.
recipe and see what it's like.
Do you know what a narrow dock is?
I'm thinking it's some kind of plantain. I'm not really sure.
It's grows up on a stem and has leaves that come out. Broad dock and a narrow dock.
All right.
Broad has
Good morning,
red
you're live on
veins
Old Town
running
Cleveland.
through it. It's no good.
I'm fine, Brett.
Good.
What's going on, Brett?
I was going to let you know we beat the Phillies last night.
Well, that's great. What was the score?
It was 11-2.
Who's we? Who's we?
Atlanta and
Atlanta Braves?
yes,
Hey, that's great. How many games have they won recently?
About 8 in a row.
it was a lot.
Did you round that off a little?
Yeah,
Is that 8 in a row?
yeah,
Okay. We had 2 sweeps, didn't we?
yeah. We did.
All right, who do we play today?
The same team.
Okay, what time?
4 this afternoon and 8 tomorrow night.
Okay, are you ready for some Bradley football coming up?
Yes.
It starts here in just a few weeks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About 18 days or something of that nature.
It's right around the corner, Ron.
Yep, that's right. About 18 days is opening season. We open against Polk County at Polk County High School.
Cleveland don't play on the same day we play.
Well, they're going to play on Friday? On Thursday or Saturday?
They play on Thursday.
Okay. Are they going to go back to Alcoa? Huh?
What?
They're going back to Alcoa?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Brett.
No, they play Macaulay.
Oh, okay.
They play Macaulay.
All right.
All right.
All right. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
All right,
There's
well,
Mr. King who can spin a basketball on his finger longer than anybody ever seen in my life.
What's going on with the picture? Is that Cleveland High School?
That's a
Yes,
Cleveland High
that's
championship team.
That's Greg Davis,
Greg,
number 12.
yeah, Greg Davis is one of the fine athletes, and Vicky Westfield is in there. Bill Emmendorfer, Steve Benton, Kenny Westfield.
Emmendorfer made a lot there. Good morning there. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hello, Rod and Debbie.
Hey,
Good morning,
Miss Ella, how are
Ella.
you?
How are you?
Hey, I feel great this morning. I had a ball last night.
What'd you do last night, Miss Ella?
I went to Pokies.
Pokies.
Guess who I danced with?
Who did you dance with?
Mark.
Mark.
Yeah.
Mark Grissom?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
well,
sorry.
I'll tell you what, you're going to have to start hanging around with better clientele or you will get a reputation, Miss Ella.
Oh.
Did you get drunk last night?
No, I just drank 2 or 3 beers.
All right.
I
What?
got to hear the Collins brothers, though.
Oh, did you?
But the 16th, I'm going back again because, the 13th is my birthday, so I'm going
Yeah, well, okay, good. You, I seen you yesterday morning playing scratch-offs down at the Oasis, and you told me you won $20.
Yeah. And this morning I played again. I won 35.
Well, you got more money to
Ron,
spend on
you're
beer.
going to have to let Miss Ella help you with your lottery tickets.
Doing a
'cause
lot
she's
better.
having-
Doing better than me. All right, Miss Ella.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
dear.
Hey, Mr. King, how you doing over there? Okay, about you. Can you spin a basketball on your finger? Yeah. I thought you could. I've seen you do that a few times. Guys,
Go back to this picture.
Okay.
Who is that?
That's Cleveland High football team, probably around 1960, well, maybe 70. Because I
Okay.
see Greg Davis and they're number 12. And Vicky Westfield is 23 down there. Steve Benton is over at the left there, number 72. I would probably know all of them if I took time to.
That's Kenny next to Vicky.
Yes, Kenny Westfield. They were two of the really great running backs, especially Vicky. Did Kenny do the same position? But Greg Davis would have to be listed there with those great athletes, too.
Oh, yeah.
He was tremendous in every sport and also a
Football
great
and
person.
basketball.
And
Yes.
baseball.
Baseball.
Yes,
Three-sport guy.
That was a really outstanding group of people in that.
I don't know if that's them. I think that's maybe when they beat Bradley that year, and we had a traveling trophy. I believe is that right, or
yes,
or is that a state championship team?
Could be either
because
one,
they would have
'cause-
voted on it in 60 or in 70. I don't think we started actually having the playoffs until when, Doyle? 78 or something.
Somewhere along there.
That's one of the really strong football teams, though, that Cleveland had back in those early years when I was teaching there. They were tough to beat by anybody.
Good
Okay.
looking team.
I'm gonna ask you a tough question now. I just like to say the wildest game or that you ever saw or played in. I mean, something just really crazy happened, or just it was the most unbelievable game or anything. My favorite basketball game of all time was back when one of the younger Hare, Justin, and Pickle played for Bradley, and then they had Charles Little and Tim Cooper over at Cleveland, and they were 1 and 2 in the state that year, and they played over at the Dome, packed house, so hot that the fans were sweating, and you imagine what the players looked like, and they went into 3 overtimes. It was the most amazing game I ever seen because Charles Little was an amazing basketball player, could dunk from anywhere on the thing, and Justin Hare took an inbound pass and just literally dribbled right down the court through everybody and went and laid it up and won the ball game. It was an amazing shot. Greatest basketball game I ever saw, and the only time I ever seen Justin Hare do a fist pump and get excited. The rest of the time he was just Mr. Workman, just level-headed. So that's my favorite, one of the best games I ever seen. I've seen some wild ones, but that was my favorite sporting event I think I ever saw. It was the best competition back and forth, so even. Doyle, do you have one?
Well, I can remember one time Bradley was playing Chattanooga City in a boys' game at Bradley.
Dynamos, right?
And they had some of those Carters on the team, and they had won nearly every game they played, and Bradley upset them that night, 61-60. And it really created a commotion in the gym.
Was that a football game?
That was a basketball game.
I was going to say, I was going, goodness, what a score.
And the second game I remember, and this is negative, I remember one night we went to McMinn County and played them in football, and I think the final score was 71-70 or 71-7 in favor of McMinn, and that was terrible. That was a low point of Bradley football.
Well, then Cleveland beat us 75-6, or 75-8 maybe it was.
That 71 deal though was very humiliating.
Well, McMinn County sort of had a way of beating us there when we were undefeated. In 60 they come along and beat us in the final game of the season too.
Yes.
So, all right, you got one, Sylvia?
I'm just thinking of so many
So many
overtime games. One game I remember was when Chad Copeland played at Bradley when we took our boys when they were young to watch them, and like he hit a half line shot that put Bradley ahead, and then Chris Park hit a half line shot that put Cleveland back ahead, and then I think Chad hit another one and they won that game. That was a real exciting one. Our boys, when I was playing in 62, our team with Lloyd and Steve and them, they had a triple overtime with Meigs County in the region tournament to go to the state, and our boys lost in the triple overtime, which seeded them against the number one team at that time, Kittrell. So when they went to the state, everybody thought they were doomed because of that. They drew the number one team by losing that game, but they upset Kittrell and then went on to win the state championship. So even though they lost that triple overtime, it helped them in the long run because they ended up winning the whole state. So I don't know. I've had so many. I get excited for all of them, so I could name 100, I'm sure.
Ed, you got something?
Well, I'm the same way. I've been around sports so long that it's just they start to run together. But I can remember distinctly one. I used to run a basketball tournament at Cleveland State, probably about the time you were out there. And we had all of the semi-pro teams and the college teams after the season was over. And Dr. Atkinson let us use the gymnasium out there. So we had some really great basketball. And I can remember one game, Cleveland State had Stevie Williams and Gene Meadows and a lot of guys that had our best team at that time. We were 24-4 at Cleveland State. And they were graduating from Cleveland State, so they would go on. So they were eligible to play without hurting their eligibility. And they had a team together in that tournament, and we played Tom Losh, who used to be the principal at Bradley, played at UTC, and at that time, UTC had their best record they ever had.
I think his number's retired down there, isn't it?
I believe it is. But he played on that team that was like 20. It was their first 20-win season at UTC. Well, they had a team in it, and they came down, and as fate would have it, they played Cleveland State, and it was so interesting to see how this was going to play out. And so the game rocked on, and it was right after the season was over, so both teams were in great shape. And it ended up going 116 to 115 and 4 overtime.
I guess I've
I
come to a
realize that the
conclusion.
Civil War gave rise to many great.
I hit that button again over here.
That was not my voice for those of you that are following closely. Ron is playing tricks on us over here with these buttons.
So my hand hit that.
But anyway, the score ended up 116, 115, and 4 overtimes. And the last shot was, I think, shot by Tom Losh, but he threw it up there from half court. They were one down, and a kid that we were recruiting, Gene Meadows, his brother, did not box out, and the ball came off the board, and the guy caught it and laid it up right in at the buzzer, and that's how we lost Cleveland State.
Well, that just you know, I can all kind of games, wild games and fights and people being thrown out, and of course I followed wrestling quite a bit for the last 12 years, and the battles between Bradley and Cleveland over the last 12 years have been unbelievable. You know, Bradley has dominated that series, but you know, there was one night when Ryan Emsinger went out and Bradley was down by 3. So he had to win the match, the thing by 4 to win. And of course, Bradley Emsinger teched him and got a 4-point win and beat him. And that's the closest Cleveland had been until last year. And Cleveland had the super wrestling team last year. You know, and high school sports, it's amazing that a team can stay, that the school stays on the top of any sport for a long time. Like Maryville College being on top for 10, 11 years. In Maryville College, we're going to Maryville College tomorrow night. Maryville High School, the Rebels up there have been just amazing. And then, you know, Cleveland High.
And tomorrow he won't be able to remember where it is we're going.
That's
tonight.
right. I can't remember where I'm at right now, apparently.
Who's driving tomorrow, Debbie?
I think I better drive.
Cleveland High School.
No, I have a new car. You know what that means, Ed?
No.
Guess who's driving?
Yeah, she got a really nice one of those Ford Edge, and my goodness, what that thing drives good. The Cleveland High School in football had just been a unbelievable team for forever. I think they've had two losing seasons, and since the school's been built, that's pretty impressive. And then Bradley girls in basketball was just dominant for years and years and years and years. And Bradley wrestling, right now Bradley wrestling has the most state championships of any school in any sport. They have 22 state championships, and the next closest is like Baylor down at 18. So that's pretty amazing there. I don't know how do you think a team does that? Because in high school basketball, it's who shows up next year, and you don't get to really go out and recruit. You don't supposed to recruit in high school basketball or football or stuff, But you're just lucky, some guy transfers in, and next thing you got a super team or a family moves out, and you don't have as good. How do these teams stay on top like that? And just, is it the coach, or is it just the luck of the draw?
It's the luck of the draw plus the coaching, the organization, and kids being there that want to work hard, participate, and they listen, and they employ the tactics that are presented to them. And their conditioning program is probably out of this world. And another thing that a lot of people forget about is parental support. The parents support the kids and help them, and it keeps that drive going. And just year after year, you see the same programs excelling.
Yeah.
And one other thing I would add to that is tradition, too. I think sometimes you go out there and play because of the pride and tradition that both those schools have now, Cleveland and Bradley. I think that motivates your kids that are playing.
I know, like Bradley Wrestling, they went 125 matches at Bradley High School before anybody ever beat them. It was like a 10-year run. No one beat them at home. When you walked in there, and I used to remember back at Bradley High School, people walked in, and the fact that Coach Smitty was sitting over there, and it was just a perfect gentleman. You didn't see him yelling and screaming, and got one technical foul in 40 years. How many do you get a year, Ed?
A few more than that.
Yeah, but one in 40 years, and that's just it's
That's disgusting.
Oh yeah, it is.
Another example that I could recall that involves a coach is Shelbyville, the Shelbyville girls.
Yes.
While Rick Ensel was there, they were almost unbeatable.
True.
And the last few years since he's been at Middle Tennessee State, they're not as tough, seemingly.
Mm-hmm.
And so coaching was a big factor there.
Go ahead, Sylvia. You had something?
Another addendum on that, along with the coaching. I know Rick's a great coach, but there's that term, and I'll put those in quotes, recruiting. He had the AAU program, and he had a lot of girls kind of move in there. And that helped him a lot.
Well, I think, we know that if Cleveland's got the greatest football team, and although you're going to Ocoee Middle School, you go to Cleveland High School to play football if you're a football player. And if you wanted to be a wrestler, you went there. If you want to play in the band, you went to Walker Valley. Now, there's no doubt about that, unbelievable band program. But I think Benny Monroe, for example, knew how to use the talent that showed up.
Yes, he did.
And unfortunately, he had a lot of good talent to use, but also something else he did. The Cleveland Middle School and the high school all ran the same program. And so when you're in middle school, you ran the same plays you're going to run when you're a senior. And I think they learned them. And I think that's something in the county schools that we've never done as much of, is that Truett, or is it Truett now? Or I can't think of all the
Lake Forest.
Lake Forest. I can't ever get them. Bradley Jr. I still call him, but they had coaches, and it really didn't work as close with the school system as they used to. The senior classes.
One thing they used to tell us was that we won the game just by walking on the court with our black and gold uniforms with Bradley written across it. And I actually got to see that was somewhat true when I coached at Cleveland. When we were going to play Bradley, they were just psyched out. There was something about the confidence that Bradley had that sometimes beat the teams that didn't have that confidence. That's changed over the years because we did beat Bradley when I was coaching at Cleveland.
Yeah.
But,
Zandra Owenby, you know, of course, was a great basketball player at Bradley. She coached it.
She did.
Sandra Orr?
No.
Morris.
Yes.
Yeah, Morris. That's right.
There is a Zandra Orr.
That's right. I'm someone else. Yeah, Zandra Morris. I knew that. Blake Morris played for Bradley. Later on, played football for us. And I think she had this little intimidation, and she had to come in, and, you know, and here's Coach Smitty sitting over there, and, you know, of course, you know, you'd say, well, you would know how to beat Coach Smitty. You played for him. You know all of his tricks, but he still was pretty darn good. What do you think the difference between the 3-on-3 and the 5-on-5 did to girls basketball?
Well, I think that we had a team that could have done the 5-on-5 because he practiced us like that a lot. And I got to play the AAU basketball at Middle Tennessee with Sue Gunner, who went on to LSU. I suppose that 5-on-5 is more exciting for most people to watch because it has more running. I don't think some girls and all the girls could have played the 5-on-5 that used to play. It's a tough call now. You just have to go with 5-on-5. If you see a bad game on boys or girls 5-on-5, it can be pretty boring too. So I don't know. I think if you've got the skills, that the 5-on-5 probably is better.
The 3-on-3 to me, I enjoyed that because it was such a, you had three really the great offensive players, and you had three mean girls on the other end defending. Usually the more aggressive girls tend to be your Debbie Varner, played at Bradley.
Right.
I just thought she could tear off anybody's head. I was afraid of her myself. I graduated with her. I'm kidding.
I coached against her, but
Yeah,
she's a friend now.
Yeah, she is, and but she was aggressive, and but is it time for a break? All right. Hey, folks, we'll be back here in a minute if I can get my headphones back on, and we'll be back here shortly.
WOOP LP, Cleveland, Tennessee.
Check into cash. Got the cash you need when you need it fast. We're your money machine. We'll make your wallet sing. Get on up and get down. Check into cash. Ka-ching.
Short on cash? Visit Check Into Cash and get up to $425 cash advance until your next payday, even without a check. It's quick, easy, and confidential.
Money in your pocket so quick and easy. Get the cash you need confidentially.
Got a bank account but no checkbook? Not a problem with Check Into Cash. If you need money now, you can get our new payday loan even without a check. Get the money you need right now at Check Into Cash, your one-stop money shop.
Check into cash is your money machine. Get on up and get down. Check into cash. Ka-ching.
Always use payday advance responsibly. Visit checkintocash.com for the store nearest you. Wheeler Technologies has moved. Visit them at their new location at 490 Grove Avenue Southwest next to Bradley Rentals. Same great folks, same great service with a better location to serve you. Call Wheeler Technologies for voice, data, and security needs at 664-TECH. That's 664-8324. And remember, depend on Wheeler Technologies for the current time and temperature every day at 476-1111. Tennessee Alarm Contractor C1750.
Mermaid Mattress wants to say thank you, Cleveland, for once again voting them the #1 bedding store in Cleveland Daily Banner's Reader's Choice Awards. Buy any full-size mattress set and get a $500 wooden headboard, footboard, and wood side rails for only $99. Or, while they last, close out fabric queen-size mattresses for only $99. But hurry while supplies last. Mermaid Mattress, your hometown mattress factory, located right here in Cleveland, Tennessee on Georgetown Road. Call them at 472-2486 for more information. Go see them now on Georgetown Road. Mermaid Mattress, 472-2486.
Mermaid Mattress Factory and Showroom.
Kiesler Incorporated is in the business of recycling your metal, and they pay cash. The only covered scrapyard around where you can recycle rain or shine. They're located off the bypass on Overhead Bridge Road. Automobiles, appliances, copper, stainless steel, tin, all metals can be recycled at Kiesler, and you can walk away with cash. That's right, they pay cash, and they are the friendliest scrapyard in the Southeast. If you have unwanted metal just laying around, bring it to Kiesler Recycling recycling today and walk away with cash. Kiesler Recycling open Monday through Saturday, 7:30 to 5, or call for more details, 614-3000.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in a shopping mall. Ooh, where'd the old town go? Did my hometown get old, or just me? Did all my friends get old, or just me? Are they all gonna have to be told, or just me?
Hey, we're back here on Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. We got Doyle Palmer here, and we got Ed and Sylvia Coates here. And we're talking about local sports, and if you have a favorite player or a favorite game, give us a call. Got a few things happening around the area. Deb, tell us about that real quick.
I want our friends to know that down at Red Clay State Park today and tomorrow, they're having Cherokee Days, and it's 10 to 5, and they'll have the Indian drummers and dancers.
Fried bread.
And fried bread.
And fried bread.
And fried bread, yep. It's good fried bread, too, unless you let them pile a lot of fattening stuff on it. I wanted to mention also, too, that Cleveland Works is going on down at the Museum Center during their regular hours. Go by there. It's just $5 to get in, and you get to see the museum. They're trying really hard to make it.
The museum is changing tremendously here in town. You need to go by if you haven't been there, or if you've never been there, or if you haven't been there in years, you need to go back.
And Stampers downtown, 10 to 5. And I think
the
that's
final day
it.
of their big sales at Stamper. Yeah,
They're having that big sale. And then I'd like to thank the Ducktown Senior Center. They invited me up Monday, and I took the documentary up there, and we showed it to about 45 very enthusiastic people. It was a lot of fun for them because they remembered those families. And our friend Cheryl and Doc German went up there with me, and we had a great time. And also, I'm working on the history of the Red Hill United Methodist Church, and I need some pictures and some family stories about that. So if anyone has information about that, give me a call. I talked to Mr. Robert Steele this week, and he said he was only 94, and he wasn't sure he could help me.
He can help
But
you.
he said he couldn't tell me the date that church building was built, but his daddy was born in 1887, and he went to church in that building. So I thought that was pretty good information. But rarely do I find someone that was 4 generations from when the Cherokees left here. And that's the case with Mr. Steele. And it's pretty interesting for him to talk about his great-grandfather that was a preacher among the Cherokee before the removal.
well, that's a few years ago.
And he learned the language and preached in both Cherokee and English.
And we're doing a documentary on dirt track racers. And so if you know any dirt track racers, we'd like to interview them. We need pictures.
Please have no regrets.
And 8mm film and video, particularly the 8mm, which will be a little bit older.
And we'll get those converted.
And give you a DVD of the conversion, give your film back to you. We need old uniforms and trophies. We need to look at all this stuff. We were at Boyd Speedway last night, and like I say, done some unbelievable filming and interviewed some people down there. So
in 1950s, did you know that Doc German was one of the biggest trophy winners in the area?
How many trophies does he have now?
1.
What did he do with them?
Well, he did give them to the pretty girls that danced with him at the dances after the races.
So he won thousands of trophies and has one trophy. So we'll have to get that on tape and find out more about that story. But
Speaking of Doc German, I lived next door to the Germans when I was a young girl till I was in like the 6th grade. The Germans, Buddy German
Buddy.
and his
Mhm.
Lawrence
Cooney?
German.
Cooney with
They lived next
Harold.
door to us. They were our neighbors
And where did they live at that time?
on 21st Street.
Yep, they
The
sure did.
Stampers lived right across
Yeah.
there, and Tip Top Toby Taylor lived there.
know that.
The Abels, Lawyer Carmichael was our next door neighbor.
The Abels are going to come on and do the show.
And Fro Daddy lived on the other side of the Germans, and
Yes.
Alan Jones
Was he
on the other
crazy?
side of them.
Was Fro Daddy crazy then?
Well, he was. I was really good friends with his sister Cam,
Uh-huh.
so we didn't spend much time with him. He
I
was
don't
too wild
blame
and
you.
crazy
I
for
don't
us.
blame you
We
at
both
all.
were kind of
I
quieter.
wouldn't do it now either. But Doc was his family lived at Kenny Creek, and one of the 14 families that lived there, and so
Some of the really unique pictures from there came from Buddy's collection. When he passed, his niece collected his pictures, and she was very generous. She called me and invited me over, and that's where we got the picture of the tennis court, Ron,
Yeah,
that we
so,
couldn't find one anywhere else.
She sent a picture to me too that he had taken of her and her sister and my sister when we
Mhm.
were little girls
Glendon.
playing over there.
Glendon Beck
Glendon
helped me
Bell.
with
That's
those.
who I figured.
All right. Okay, guys, where are we going to go next? What are you going to talk about? Doyle, sort of lead us
Doyle
in.
start us off.
Well, one day I was sitting around and I thought I would come up with a team of Barriettes, a team of Bears that could play basketball for me, and a team of guys that could play football. Now, this is just for fun and discussion. It's not intended to be the best team. It's just a team that I think could play a physical, trapping, pressing, run and gun game for me in basketball.
All right, well,
So let me throw out a few names for my Barriette team. I have Janet Pruitt, which might not be a household name for people. I have Gloria Scott. I have Sally Nearen, Zandra Ormby, Jody Adams, and if I could select a sixth person, I'd probably have Mabel DeLay on there. So I think those people could play a pretty good game, don't you, Sylvia?
Yes, I do. We could probably make a whole bunch of teams like that where
Yes,
we came
we
up
could.
with
would
5
you
or
add
6
or
names.
would you add anybody to that or change anybody or
I would
not,
add.
not to get anybody mad? Just who
It's just for fun.
who would be
Are
add
you
to your
think-
team?
So you're talking about fun or?
I mean, it's just something
A
to
team that
talk
could
about.
win.
Fantasy
You know,
team.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not
fan-
Former
offended.
players.
Well, there was a girl named Spider that I probably would put on there. No, I'm kidding. Gosh,
Spider and Liz would have to be on there.
if I had one, I know Amy Guerin would probably
Oh,
be
yeah.
one that I
Oh,
would
yeah.
definitely.
Is she coaching now?
Mabel's daughter.
At
Yes,
Copper Hill?
she's going to at Cleveland. She's
at
going
Cleveland.
to
She's at,
Oh, okay.
she's at
be our middle
Cleveland
school
now.
coach this
Okay,
year.
great.
Uh-huh.
She was at Copper Hill, I believe, wasn't she?
Yes, she
Okay.
was, and did very well there
Yeah.
too. That's her mother that he's got on his team, my running mate.
Mabel.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Because she was rough and tough. I think that's kind of what he's picked on his team. I could just pick so many people that I don't know where to start.
I think
you know,
Sandra Owenby.
the way I feel about this is that if you accomplished what your mission was, then you did everything that you could do. And that's why it's hard for me to pick one person better than someone else, because so many of the girls achieved everything they could achieve when they were at Bradley. And you have to consider who their competition was at the time, because I know like when Eddie and Tanner played at Bradley, every district game they played was a team that was capable of beating them.
Oh, yeah,
I
wasn't
mean,
it
they all were
unbelievable?
within 2 or
Right.
3 points.
Yeah.
Right.
Then I've seen other years when Bradley boys or girls could just clobber every team in the district. So there are a lot of factors that you have to consider when you pick good people. I would have Mabel on my team because she was my teammate, and we were like Coach Smitty called us the Gold Dust Twins. So we had to be there. But I think of Teresa Watson and Jane Brock and Martha Montgomery and Zandra, of course, and Rita Hanna, and then we forget Data and
Oh, Data.
Tracy Dixon, Karen Mills,
Oh,
Did we
man,
have
yeah.
Liz Hannah
Karen
on that
was
team?
4'0".
Yeah.
I know.
And we get
One-
out there and just tangle with those big old girls.
Y'all probably remember also the game where Karen made the shot in the state tournament.
The hootenanny
and
shot it was
George
called.
Starr
This
had
is
the
Steve
perfect
Hickson.
angle.
Join me every Wednesday
to
morning
see
on
the
Whoop.
clock as their time expired. She
We're
made
back
the
again.
she made the shot. I think with 2 seconds left on the clock, and a lot of people saying, "Oh, the game was over. The game was over." But George has a masterpiece in
it
his
is.
collection.
That is a classic.
And it was Corky's announcing. I didn't get to go to the game, but I was glued to the radio. I was sitting there, and all I heard was, and I'd never heard Corky just lose it. And Corky wasn't saying anything, and I said, I assume we won. That's all that.
I know.
Ed, you had.
He was probably speechless, Ron.
Oh well, that's odd too. Ed, you got anybody you want to add to that list, or that you'd sing?
No, I think Sylvia covered most of them. I mean, she's the authority on girls basketball. And
Yeah, Liz had those years when she was there. They went undefeated 2 years back to back and was named national, not an actual title, but was named national champion.
Data was there at that time.
Yeah, Data, I don't know if I told you guys earlier. I used to go watch a lot, and Data just stood there. Her freshman, sophomore year, she stood there,
Right.
caught the ball, and then one night against Cleveland, there was the Parks girl. I can't remember her first.
Debbie
Parks,
Parks,
right? And Debbie was Gardner. And Data done some spin move and ended up behind her and went up and laid up and got a thing.
It was kind of like in slow motion.
And then from there on, she went and scored 1,000 points.
Mhm.
But she had just stood there, and I'd never seen Coach Smitty smile and just almost bust out into laugh as much when she spun around Parks and went in there. And of course, the crowd went crazy too because Data had stood there for 2 years, just being that big, tall, slender lady.
well, she was busy growing those 2 years.
Yeah, and she did that too. Yeah, but that's great. So all right,
All those names that have been mentioned, I had them on my list, but I had to select 5 or
that's great.
6. And one other young lady that I would mention would be Sandra Dixon. Sandra played guard. She was a fly swatter. And I think Coach Smitty also played her a little bit at forward. And she was
she
very
the one
good.
that moved away before her senior year?
No, I thought she stayed at Bradley for 4 years.
Oh, okay. He took her to the state tournament with us. She was an 8th grader when I was a
Of course,
senior.
and we didn't mention Brittany. Brittany went on to have a pretty decent career up at UT.
You know, one thing I'd like to say, too, being a Barrett, all of us Barretts are kind of like a family. It started with Coach Smitty era when we had Connie Day and Joyce Miller, Nancy Hawkins, and Rita Johnson. They were kind of my heroes at the time. And then all the way through all the teams we've been naming till now. Like, I still stay in touch with the Barretts that are playing now because I love that team, too. You just become a family, and you support each other every year, and maybe that's part of that tradition we're talking about that makes you go out there and try to win.
We did a whole show on Coach Smitty here at Coach, just to make.
One
Mrs.
of the-
Easterly was a Barrett. She's 90-something now.
She's left us now.
Oh, well,
Juan.
okay.
Juan's always behind.
I'm behind, but she was a Barrett.
And I used to go watch them play when I was at Mayfield School, when Wilma Haney used to play, Sharon Montgomery, and I always thought Ruby Turner was one of the best players I had seen at that time. Janet Bacon was one of the early ones, and Virginia Watkins. I just remember those names from watching them when I was in elementary school.
There's a lot, and if people who don't go out to local sports and high school sports, there's so much. High school sports a lot different than the professional level. They're not making millions of dollars, and they're out there playing their hearts out. It costs you $2 or $3 to go see a basketball game. You get to see people from all over the community, and you get to watch these kids grow up and do that. So I encourage you to go out and see football, basketball, wrestling, baseball, and that. What's your next sport there?
Well, what I was going to say about Janet, she played for Mr. Kyle, C.A. Kyle, and I don't know how long he coached at Bradley, but he was there for a long time, and the Barretts were really good when he was coaching. I believe their 53, 54 team probably lost 1 or 2 games. Of course, now they didn't play Porter, and they didn't play Wallen and people like that back then, but still they were very good. And Sylvia has mentioned Wallen and Porter today. I remember A.J. Wilson was the coach at Wallen, and Galen Johnson was the coach at Maryville Porter. And they really had some battles with Coach Schmidt and the Barriettes. And okay, you want me to move on?
Move on to something else there.
Next team.
All right.
Your boys' team.
We're going to have a boys basketball team, and this is just some people that I've selected
that's a lot of
that
people to
could
choose
play
from.
for me.
All right.
Okay.
And the list is wide open for people to criticize, take away, add to, whatever you want to do. I borrowed 2 players from an era that LeBron Montgomery and I coached at Bradley. I have Alvin Scott and Dennis Botts. Alvin and Dennis were both real team players. They worked hard. They were dedicated to trying to help the team win, because that's the objective when you go out there, is try to have more points on the board. And I had borrowed 2 from Sylvia's era. That was Lloyd Hewitt and Steve Sloan. They were both very good. And then I guess my point guard for this team would be Chad Copeland. And I think we could press and trap and run and gun. And
A pretty good
do
darn
a pretty
list.
good job.
And if I would just add, if I was adding areas, they would have to be Yarborough from Cleveland. If I was picking an all-star team from the area, Yarborough, it was just a great forward, and
he was good.
He was an amazing, and then of course Dante Hickey. Dante Hickey was a multi-sport thing, and he was a great basketball player. Darnell Mee from over at Cleveland was very, very good. But Alvin Scott probably is my number 1 player from the area, I think. His averages were unbelievably. I think he scored 18 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 6 blocked shots. And when Alvin Scott blocked a shot, it wasn't touching it. It was like knocking it up in the stands, because he could out-jump anybody. He was just amazing. But I think he's on, and of course, the Bradley Hall of Fame down there, and his numbers were unbelievable. And there was no 3-point shots back then, and you could not dunk.
Couldn't dunk.
You could not dunk the ball. Just think what he could have done if he could have dunked the ball and he had the 3-point shot, because he could shoot outside, he could run. And that Dennis Botts, Alvin Scott era there when I was in school was amazing. Never won the gold ball, but they were right in the hunt for it every year.
Yes. While we're talking about the team and mentioning the name Scott, I'd like to give kudos to the Scott family. There were 4 members of that family that played basketball at Bradley.
Levi,
Terry was the first one. He came over when we first integrated. And then there was Levi and Gloria and Alvin. And those were wonderful young people.
And, we've talked about Terry coming over as the first black athlete over to Bradley. And I think the administration and the coaches handled it very well. And I don't think he ever had any really problem. Of course, Terry's big enough to take care of himself, too. He was a pretty big old boy.
Yeah.
The only problem I know that came up from that, because it happened when my sister was at Bradley. My sister Linda and George Nairn gave Terry a ride home from school one day when he didn't have a ride after they finished with practice, and calls from the community came in.
Oh, no.
And Miss Clemmer called Sally Nairn, who was George's sister, and me in to talk with them about it. And she thought what they did was such a wonderful gesture, and she appreciated that so much. But she said, we just have to be careful now in the community right now. We don't want to stir up any problems. But
there had to be an interesting
have certainly
time.
changed.
Yeah, I'd like to. Ed probably can comment on Levi, because he coached him and he played with Terry in some of the pickup independent games, didn't you?
Go ahead there.
What?
Yeah, some of the games we alluded to earlier out of Cleveland State. We got Terry to play with us, so I played with Terry, and I coached Levi because he played for us at Cleveland State. Levi and Bozo Queener and Mike Fitzgerald were the 3 that came from Bradley, and the funniest 3 guys you'll ever know, and
Love
3
Bozo.
3 great athletes. I tell you, they're still close friends of mine.
Bozo and I played racquetball, and he has a wingspan. It's hard to get a ball by him going down in a racquetball court. He was a good athlete.
I can remember one night, there was some unique basketball games played around when I was playing that some people are not even familiar with. One of them, and this involves Levi and Bozo and Dennis Botts and Birdman Bigham and Baldy Watson.
Hugh Watson.
Hugh Watson, yeah, we called him Baldy. And myself, Mr. Trailer, Mr. Sigliano. We had a good team. Tom Wheeler. Loma Swafford. And we were playing the All-American Redheads. And there was a bunch of girls that used to travel around. It was like the female version of the Globetrotters. They came in limousines, red, white, and blue striped limousines and matching uniforms. And they all had their hair dyed red. And their center was 6'8", and they were all. Doyle would have had some of them on his team because they could hurt you. Anyway, they come in and they hadn't lost a game in forever, and so we're out there warming up, and the old Bradley gym was full to capacity, man. It's hard to believe that many people came in to watch a kind of crazy setup game like that. But it was full, and we were out there warming up, and we were getting psyched too, because of all the people. Levi's out there. I said, Levi, go up there and dunk a couple for these people. Get the crowd riled up. So Levi, he was a jumping machine. I never seen anybody. He could jump just like Alvin. Yeah. And so he went up, he skied, went up there, did a, 360, went up and tried to slam it. And he was so high, he came down and missed it. It hit the plate on the back of the rim and went all the way up to the ceiling, and the crowd just went crazy. We ended up playing them and beating them, and they told us that they would never be back, and they never have been. But if you look up on the internet, they are in the Basketball Hall of Fame, that team, and that's who we played against. A lot of them were real stars, in college.
Even with Sigliano.
Even with Sig in there.
Yeah. To tell you the truth about that, at the end, they had made a deal that they would not beat them. I mean, they were not supposed to beat them.
It's a Globetrotter deal.
And it was just about a minute and a half to go in the game, and Hugh Watson came over to them, and he said, I'm not going to lose to any girls. He said, I'm going to win this game. And Birdman said, me too. And so that's why they weren't really supposed to beat them, but those guys couldn't lose.
Rule breakers, yeah. Ron, we need to mention that next week on our show, the Cleveland High School class of 1968 will be on.
Oh, that's my first year I taught at Cleveland High. That is the greatest bunch of kids.
Charlie McKenzie's out gathering up the troops, and it should be a lot of fun. But
our reunion shows are always really good because, you
we
talk
just
about
sit here.
People in high school, and now they're adults, and we get to embarrass them, and things like that. Yeah. So, the boys' basketball team there is just great, there. And, of course, Dennis Bott, we went to Oak Grove together, a good friend of mine, and he was a dominating forward. He actually played center, didn't he?
He played on the inside for us. And
Eddie Callahan was there, 6'10".
Eddie Callahan was on that team. He was really good. And there was one other guy on that team. I want to give him a little bit of credit. He probably holds the record for assist at Bradley High School, and his name was Doug Odom.
Doug
didn't care whether he ever shot or not, but when he could put it in Dennis Bott's hands for two, that was a great thrill.
And they had some unbelievable ball handlers on that 70s. You had the Sullivan brothers and the Williams brothers.
Yeah.
And
Mike and Stevie and those people, they could go.
They could really so unbelievable. And then of course Doug Odom on there. I remember that. But I think there was Riverside and Howard, unbelievable teams, and McMinn County with the Arwine boy who could jump out of the gym, and those four teams played, and it was really great basketball back then.
Dorsey Sims had some teams at Riverside that were just unbelievable.
Was that year they had like 5 guys that were 6'6" or something?
Oh, yeah.
They were just all tall, and then Howard had real tall, and then some average size guys.
A lot of those boys went on to Oral Roberts, you remember at that time, and played with Greg Davis and they had a kind of a good pipeline here to Chattanooga.
Yeah, there's a
Richard Fuqua played down there. He was really good.
He's one of the best. Yeah,
really good.
I think the team that Eddie played on, and then Tanner followed up on that same group when Kobe Shamlin and Matt Clayton, Micah Howard, Steve White, and David Porter and Eric Akins
Yes.
I said Matt Clayton. That was a team that should have gone to the state. They really got gypped, I hate to say this, out of a game because Eddie stole the ball from C.J. Black. It was a clean steal to go down, and they had a 1-point lead at the time with the game just about over. And after he got almost down the court, they called a foul on that and sent C.J. Black to the foul line, and he made 2 free throws that beat Bradley that year, and they ended up being in the sub-state away instead of at home. But I don't believe many teams were any better than that group right there, too.
You know, you have to admit that C.J. Black should not be the guy handling the ball. He could shoot and was good under the goal, but
that was off a rebound. He had gotten a rebound, and then Eddie swiped it. Took about 3 dribbles up the court, and then the whistle blew.
C.J. played for Brainerd, went on and played for the University of Tennessee. I know in the districts that year, Cleveland played him in the district, and he ripped the backboard out at East Ridge. He literally just slam dunked, and that's when they could.
And what happened to you that night, Ron?
Well, as they were deciding what to do about the goal, I had walked up to see some friends in the top there, and they had those wooden bleachers. As I came back down, someone had spilled a Coke. And when I stepped on it, my right foot went above my head. And I said, you know, this could be a problem. When my feet are above my head, there's a problem. So I hit the first thing, and it bounced me up in there. Then I landed on my head on the next one.
He's bouncing off those old wooden bleachers like they were a trampoline.
I was doing flips. I landed on my shoulder once, my head once, and I went all the way down. I got to the bottom, and I hit the bottom bleacher and just sit down just like this. And when I hit there, my friend ran over and says, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Heck no, I fell down the bleachers. I'm not okay." And the police ran over there and said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm okay." And the one East Ridge policeman says, "The Russian judge gave you a 9-3.
He was sore for about 2
and then
months.
the next day at my office, people called me all day long and says, "That's the darndest thing I ever seen. Like, are you all right?" And I said, "Well, I've got an appointment with a chiropractor here in a few minutes, but yeah, I'll live." But C.J. Black was
There's people
big
still
basketball
remember
player.
that when we go.
I
People
tried
say, "Did
to-
you fall down this bleacher?"
I had forgot that till she brought
You know,
that
as
up.
an anecdote too, a lot of people may not know it, but with all the Hares and Copelands and Oglesby, I work with a guy over at Ocoee Middle now. His name is Matt Clayton. He still has the record, along with my other son. You know, we talked about Eddie possibly breaking all these records, but they forget about Tanner. Tanner and Matt are still tied for the all-time 3-point shots in one game, and that's 9. They both had 9 in one game.
Wow.
And Oglesby, even when he had his 60-something points, didn't top that.
I was at that game, and it was unbelievable. That's the night Oglesby could just throw it over his head, and it went in. You know, it's one of those nights.
And didn't he make 30-something free throws in that game?
Yeah, it was
It was
unbelievable.
32 free throws or something.
He was a gym rat. I mean, when we had the wrestling match down, you know, as soon as we got the wrestling mats up after the match and thing like that, he was in there shooting. He'd shoot inside the 3. He'd go in the line, step back out. He practiced every move around through there.
Tell him about not knowing the tradition.
Who don't know the tradition?
Oglesby.
Tell us.
Well, he just, you know, he was a great player and everything, but he didn't actually know all the tradition that went
Right.
behind. Bradley didn't know the players that came before and how good they were and everything. He pretty much was kind of in a little bubble, you know,
Right.
of his own self. I don't even know what he's doing now. Is he still playing?
He's playing
professional
in,
overseas.
He's playing overseas.
Is he?
Yeah. He went to Clemson, did he? And he played 2 years, and he
Right.
took unbelievable job over. I think he's from, where is he from? He has dual citizenship. He's from Switzerland or something like that.
Somewhere like that.
Yeah, and I think that's where he's playing ball at.
Oh, okay. What kind of results is he getting?
I do not know the
Have any
answer to that. That would be good. You know, Darnell Mee went over and played in Europe. I think Yarborough went over. Carpenter, big Carpenter. His dad was AD over. Zach, yeah. He went over and played some over there. So that's Charles Little played for the Dayton Flyers for 4 years.
We watched him play. He's a good
And
player.
he was. I always said if he had an outside shot, he'd been unbelievable. But inside, he was just. In high school, he was just deadly. He was just amazing player. And but yeah, I went to Dayton and played 4 years there. And you know, I don't think he was a starter. He always 6-man or something.
That was a good nickname for him, though, to play for the Dayton Flyers, because he could pretty much spend a lot of time in the air.
Yeah, he was very, very good. What other sports you got here for us?
Well, we could talk a little football. It's close to football season, and this one will really stir up a lot of controversy.
yeah.
Because
I got my list too.
It already is.
there's another large pool here to select from, but I want everyone to remember this is a team that I selected that I thought could play my style of ball.
You know, there are people
So-
out here in the parking lot waiting for you to come out now.
I know it. You have to suffer the consequences of what you say or do. So, but
That's
anyway,
never stopped you yet, Doyle.
First of all, we're going to play with Coach Billy Frank Smith's playbook.
All right.
Okay, his teams were based on speed and precision and deception. He was really an outstanding coach. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think his team at Spring City won 40-some consecutive games before he took the job at Bradley. So and these are people that I had an opportunity to see play. I understand there was Callaways and Bargers and Owenbys and Dockerys, a lot of people back before 1953 that were really outstanding. So these are just people that I had a chance to see. So let's see if anyone agrees with Ted Smith at end. He's one of my ends, Ted Smith. I have Bill Bug White at tackle. I have Rex Dockery at guard. I have Bob Johnson at center. I have David Terrell at guard, and I really think he played mostly tackle, but I'm going to let him play guard because he was a good blocker. Mitch Lilly at tackle. Dale Jones at the other end. I have one running back would be William Centers. Another back would be Kenny Hooper. And another scat back would be Ernest Droke. And my quarterback is Steve Sloan. And I'll say right now I had a hard time keeping Scott Kyle off of my team. And the late Andy Ballinger's been mentioned today. Mm-hmm. And I guess if I'm just allowed 11, Rex Dockery would have to be our kicker. He kicked some when he was on the Bradley Bear team. So that would be a group that I think could win a few games. They were hard workers. People know most of them. Mm-hmm. And I think Ted played in like 53, 54, might have been his senior year, and he made All-State. And those guys were just pretty good. And we'd play a wing tee formation primarily, but with those guys, I wouldn't have to coach much. I'd just get them lined up, and Steve Sloan would run the show.
You know, that happens sometimes. You get out of their way. And Mitch Lilly went on and played for Vanderbilt. And, of course,
Yes.
Dale Jones played for, what was that team up there in Knoxville?
UTK.
UTK had a pretty good career up there.
Mm-hmm.
Dole, we had the greatest thing happen one day on our show when the late Carl Green, he was 90 when he passed a few weeks.
Carl Green, good guy.
We were we'd loved having Mr. Carl on because he could just tell us where all the old stuff was, and he'd just tell beautiful stories. But Ron, he was talking about playing football for Bradley High School, and Ron said, "Well, who was your coach?" And he said,
Jimmy Lovell.
Jimmy Lovell.
We had never had anybody say that they had actually played for Jimmy Lovell. And then he talked about what a wonderful, wonderful man he was. Not only a coach, but a good person. And that was just such a unique experience, I thought. Enjoyed that.
Sylvia, you got any football players that you'd add to that? I know you're the basketball person, but, you know.
Well, Arnold's agreeing with Doyle over here. He says that's
I've
a great
got one
lineup.
or two. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, he got 4 from the team when I was at Bradley. I love the group he's picked there. I'd like to have that team too. If I think of someone, I'll add it in.
Go ahead. Throw it out there. And the callers out there, come on. Let's hear some names.
Ed, do you have any great football players? Or?
No, you got to remember I'm a Yankee. We don't play football too much up north. It's all basketball.
Yeah, I knew that. You know,
so I'll have to pass on that.
Well, you know, I'm going to add a couple of the Cleveland players that I liked. We talked about Dante Hickey who probably played safety or running back with any team out there. Bill Emmendorfer, which I've got his picture up on there, would have been a pretty darn good lineman to add with anybody. And then a big tackle from up at Walker Valley recently, Jared LeDuc, plays for Ole Miss now. That is one big human being. Nice kid, too. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning.
Hey there.
I wanted to say you left Jerry Lyles off your list.
Okay, well, that's what we're here for. Add some.
Well, that's the main one I wanted to add. He's so fast, I kept hearing him listening on the radio. He kept having brain concussions because he ran so fast and hit people so hard. They had a real hard time making it through his 4 years because of all his concussions.
Yeah, Doug. Doug, what year did you graduate from Cleveland?
1968. I'll be one of your guests next week.
Well, great. All right.
Weren't you in my class, Doug? This is Mrs. Coates.
I thought you were the prettiest teacher I ever had.
Hey, watch it, Doug.
Her husband was the most difficult basketball player. He had some kind of Yankee slip slide that he would get around. You couldn't guard him. I gave up. He'd get me so upset I just wanted to quit.
A Yankee slip slide, hey, is that's a new term for me. Who else?
He'd just stand there in front of you, and he'd take the ball on his whole body, and they'd just go around you some kind of way that I just can't explain it.
Who were some of the other football players your senior year?
Oh, at Cleveland High?
Yeah.
Ronnie Weir was the coach. I mean, quarterback. I haven't woke up yet. Let's see. Oh, I can't remember all the players. Rob Schultz. Old Doughball Hickson was there.
He didn't make anybody's list. Emmendorfer, pretty darn good ball player.
I still like Big Money when he said he was on the first string until they integrated and he went to fifth string in one day.
Who was that?
Big Money.
Big Money Griff?
Yeah.
I don't remember him being a football star. I remember Big George now. Big George, he'd look out for me.
Kenneth George.
Big George would step up and take care of little Doug. I really appreciated Big George.
He was Big Money didn't make the list because, like I say, he was on first string, and then they integrated to school, and he went to fifth string. I don't think he ever played. Coach Scott didn't even know he was on the team. Literally. I mean, there's a story where he hurt his finger at the state tournament. He got it caught in the door and went down there, and the coach says, "Who are you anyway?" And he said, "Well, I'm on the team, coach." So,
well, you know, I'm really worried about coming in there and trying to talk about my graduating class because it's been so long I can't remember very much. I remember the tragic death of my best friend, Teddy Loman. But I don't want to spend the whole time talking about that. And Charlie McKenzie's so slow trying to get a sentence out that I got a feeling it's going to be one of your worst.
Ron, did I tell you I need to go somewhere next weekend?
No. Yeah.
You need to go back and find your Ocoyan and start at the first page. Excuse me. You need to go back and find your Cleveland yearbook and start with page 1 and sit there and look at it and think about all those things that happened while you were in school at Cleveland.
Well, thank you for that tip, but here's the problem with that. I already thought of that, but my annual has fallen down behind my computer desk, and I'm too fat to get down on my knees to retrieve it.
You have to get Randy to come over there and get it for you.
See if you can get Tom Lloyd or Rick Davis. Both of them would remember a lot of the sports things.
you know what Doug will remember? The food in the cafeteria and the pretty girls.
Oh,
okay. Here's what I remember. The cafeteria, the teachers breaking line. That upset me so much. I had to stand back there at the end of the line to wait for my food, and teachers just walk up and get in line. I thought that was so unfair. That still upsets me. I wake up in the middle of the night just getting upset.
Did Sylvia do that?
Have the break line. I don't know if Sylvia did it, but most of the teachers did, and it really disturbed me. I just thought it was unfair and not democratic whatsoever.
Hey, Doug?
Yes?
Get over it.
I guess so. It's been 45 years. You think I would get over it, but I'll tell you, I haven't.
There's some things you just can't forget, isn't it?
If it involves food.
Well, I'm going to let y'all
Thanks,
go.
Doug. Okay, Ron, I have to ask the big question. Over the years, who's had the best hot dogs?
Over the years, Cleveland High School has had consistently the best hot dogs at their football games. Bradley, it comes and goes. They'll be really good, then they're really bad, then they're really good. And we're in that really bad cycle right now. I'm sorry, folks, but it's bad. And you can go to Polk County, and they've got some really good food over there. They got a big grill out there that you go to eat, and then you watch a football game. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
What do you say, Ron?
Hey. Fine. How are you there? Bubba Cry.
What's going
Oh,
on,
Bubba Cry.
Hey, Bubba.
Yeah. Did I hear that you had Doyle Palmer on there today?
Doyle is here, and Sylvia and Ed Coates.
Well, I'll be doggone. Well, good to talk to all three of you then.
Good to hear from you, Bubba.
I just was calling in. I heard it was a sports show, and I probably said it before on the radio. We used to go to a lot of the ball games. Mother had played when she was in high school, and Dad liked to go and stand up there in the old Bradley gym. You may remember the windows went out, and he and his buddies up there had bet on the ball games, what was going on the court. But, and I ran around popping paper cups when I was a kid up down the steps. But I go back, I remember the one girl's name that played on one of the teams. The earliest one I remember was Joyce Miller. Now, I don't know how far back that goes. It had to be in the 50s.
She was on the team when I started there. She graduated with Connie Day in 1960.
Yes, so this had to have been in the late 50s then, I guess. But we would sometimes go to back. This was back when Eddie Test played for Chattanooga Central. They went to the state, and I don't know if Bradley did or not. Anyway, somehow we got the national, went over there to the game. But that's as early as I remember going to the Bradley basketball games. But I guess y'all were talking about some highlights possibly. I'm over between Goldsboro and Kinston or Wilson, and I haven't been able to hear the show. But my three that I remember distinctly was whenever I was a senior, we played Chattanooga Central, we played Chattanooga City, and we played Kinston, and it was in a short span, maybe within 4 or 5 games we played those three teams, something like that. But the boys' game was down to, they won it like on last-second shots. Jimmy Cannon made a couple of shots, but it was a great ball game, and all ball games, all three. And I remember people sat in the windows, old Bradley Gym, which they did, and there was no room except on the floor down. You couldn't even go to the concession stand unless you went down the steps. But those were three memorable games that I remember, and I guess it's because my senior class. I should remember that. But anyway, there have been some really good players go through Bradley High School, to say the least.
Now, hey, Bubba, let me ask you a question. You taught down at McDonald, right?
I was down there 2 years.
Did you also coach? Did you coach down there?
I had the boys and girls basketball, boys and girls softball, and boys and girls track. And
what was your record?
The first year, everybody played together, and we were fortunate enough to get second in the tournament. We played the first year we beat Oak Grove in the semifinals and went on to play North Lee the second year. Excuse me, I'm not second year, but in the finals, and they beat us. We played the second year. When I coached the second year, they split it up, big teams and small teams, and we got second again in the small teams. Black Fox beat us in the finals. So we were fortunate to have some good kids. From around the neighborhood, the Rakestraws, Clowers, Ledfords. And Johnsons and Taylors. The kids, Pam McDowell played for me. And for those 2 years, I was very fortunate to have kids that played at the orphanage all their lives together, as long as they'd been there. And then I had some kids from the communities, and the community backed me. You just wouldn't believe, what they did. When I got our uniforms at McDonald, you remember those old shiny uniforms that made out of, what is that, gabardine? I don't know what it was, but anyway, that was the first game we went down. I went down and got some shorts and basketball shirts, and we played the rest year in those. We put those others aside, gave them away, but the community was just so, the Ruritan Club and everybody was so good to us down there. Really enjoyed teaching school down there at McDonald. It was just something that you'll never forget.
I want to point something out is that you taught there, and of course they closed McDonald. I don't know if there's any correlation to that or not.
Could be.
What year were you there, Bubba?
I'm sorry.
What year did you teach and coach at McDonald?
I was down there 71, 72, and 72, 73.
Okay, that was after I left North Lee.
I'm sorry?
That was after I left North Lee. I was at North Lee from 61 to 67.
Let's see now the coach at, trying to think, who was the coach? I remember at Oak Grove the coach was Randy Guerin. He was kinfolks. And can't remember. I remember the team was Chuck Ashley was the big center for him at North Lee. And I think they were undefeated all year. They were really a great team. We just been fortunate to beat Oak Grove the night before, and that's the big Dixon boy was their center. Mitchell Dixon, I think, was his name, I believe. But the coach, I can't remember who was at North Lee at that time. But anyway, it was a great time, and I don't guess do they still have the feeder system coming up from the grammar schools? They don't, do they?
No.
Yeah.
We go through the 5th grade now, Bubba, and then we have middle schools. We have 2 middle schools, Lake Forest and Ocoee Middle.
I see.
And then Cleveland has a middle school, Cleveland Middle.
I see.
We have 3 high schools. I guess you know that. We have Bradley, Cleveland, and Walker Valley.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I still tell people from time to time that Bradley County, and unless somebody's done it, I don't think it's ever happened since. Whenever the boys football won the championship, and then the boys won. The boys tournament was before the girls. They played the week before and won the state championship, and so it was up to Sylvia and her teammates to win it the next week. Pressure was on, but she did real well. I remember seeing it at the Princess Theater, the replays of the ball game, and the girls won. And as far as I know, there's not any other school ever win or what I would call the Triple Crown. But I understand that year also. I think that they won the golf. Did they win the golf?
Steve Sloan was pretty good.
The golf and the baseball team went and were in the top 5.
So you guys went to the Princess and watched the film?
They showed yes, they did show the film of our championship game. I have
How
it on
fun
video.
was that? I have not heard that.
Yeah.
They gave us copies of it too.
Oh, great!
I have a copy of our boys and our girls winning.
Oh yeah, I tell you, it was.
I need that.
It was thrilling, and I was up in that game that the football team lost against McMinn. It was at McMinn at their other high school location, and I was there watching that ball game. I mean, Dad didn't miss too many of those games, and I was fortunate enough to get to see that. But it was just a great year, and I've told that around. I said you can go to a lot of places, but I said in the state of Tennessee, there isn't anybody won all the championships in 62 like Bradley High School did.
It's a great legacy. We didn't know at the time what a great thing it was.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right.
There's some great newspaper ads and things that talk about that I have seen.
Yeah, and the communities used to be a lot more involved in the in your schools, and every billboard in town says "Go Bears" or at that time. And if you define that now, you have to go to South Pittsburgh. If you go into South Pittsburgh on Friday night, that's that true Friday Night's Lights type thing. Is every sign in town says "Go Pirates," and everything's purple.
Marion County.
Yeah, Marion County, all that area over there. And yeah, when South Pittsburgh and Marion County played each other, oh my goodness! And of course, South Pittsburgh's pretty much of a legacy over there for their football too.
But the whole
Polk
town
County's a lot like that too.
Yeah. Thanks, Bubba.
I was going to mention one more thing.
See you, Bubba.
The whole town met us at the county line in a motorcade that came all the way from Murfreesboro, and the whole town was turned out along the streets waving to us and clapping, and all the way to the courthouse where we had a ceremony.
That's exciting too. And see, I know that we bring back state wrestling teams, and
well, the problem with the state wrestling team is that it got to the point is it was that's all they were always state champions, and nobody.
Right.
You know, it's sad to say, but it was just
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, Ron, a bad actor said he was about half asleep. Didn't remember all his class roommates. I like throwing a few.
Okay.
Joe Wilson, Donald Dietrich. And I actually played with the first boys that went to Cleveland High School back in '63. That's called Arnold Blue Devils over there. And Big David Harris, I think he passed away. But I think Joe Wilson, people was forgetting about him. He was a great player, too. And
Joe Wilson has 2 records at Cleveland High School. I think are still standing. He caught the most touchdown passes in a game.
Yes, he did.
And he caught the most touchdown passes in his senior year. I mean, the most touchdown passes in the history of Cleveland High School. You have to remember, Cleveland never threw the ball, so it didn't take a lot to get that record. But I think he got 6 touchdowns in one game, and then another, I think he had 30-something. But he still has a record for the most touchdown caught passes there, and that's our own Joe Wilson over at 911.
Well, his brother Rodney was a very good athlete, too.
Yes, he was.
Rodney and I went to school together, so yeah.
Touch on something else real fast. Cleveland won their first state championship back in '68. I think they beat Alcoa. Back then, it wasn't. It was. I think it was based on points, and I think they won their first one back in the '68, and I think it was Alcoa they beat.
Right.
Bobby Scott was coaching then, I believe.
Oh, in football, yeah, there for a long time it was just a vote.
Yeah. I kind of like it better now the way it is now because I don't much like the votes in there because they should. I think you should play to win. Like Bradley played in '76, they won in 3 overtimes.
Yeah, that was a great ball game.
Anyway, guys, I'm enjoying it.
All right, thanks. Talking about great coaches, Maryville High School, Alcoa High School football program is one of the most unique programs I talk to. If you're on the team, in football, if you're not a great player, sometimes you stand on the sideline and watch the starters run up and down the field practicing their plays. At Alcoa, every player on the team gets 165 snaps a week. You will get 165 live plays a week, every player on the team. So, and that's why they're so very successful, because when the starter goes down, they got number 2 who has practiced all week, and number 3 has practiced all week, and number 4 has practiced all week, and it's just that would be a hard thing to do, wouldn't it, Doyle?
It'd be very hard.
But they do that every week. I've got some friends that coach up there, and then also on the wrestling program, and I was talking to them about why they've been so successful up there, and they said it's just point blank as every player knows that they're going to practice and work as hard as anybody else on the team. And I'm saying they probably have a whole set of half the team on one end, half the team on the other, and they're running plays just constantly, and getting better and live things. So
now, Ron, what happened to Oak Ridge here in the last few years? 4 or 5 years ago, we went, and they were just stomping everybody.
Well, Oak Ridge has slipped a little bit, but and I don't know, Anderson County's there.
Maybe it split some now.
Well, Anderson County's always been there, but Oak Ridge has got the brand new school, and it's just could be the difference in the coaching and the attitude of the
I don't know, but we went, and I was totally intimidated for the football team because they
then we
they
went
shot
over.
off. They had a light show and little kids on the field and smoke. And
Well, that's like going to a
music.
Bradley wrestling event when you walk in and they play
And our
Lunatic
guys-
Fringe is the theme song to the wrestling program, and they turn off the lights and all, the team runs in.
Well, they
and intimidation is part of it. The black, you're talking about the black and gold. The Bradley wrestling team has black singlets and has a white bear paw on the back of it. Nothing else fancy, and they just run out and beat your butt.
Well-
Last year was a down year. They've had first one in 20 years. Not too bad.
No. Is Aaron Green still coaching up there
At
basketball?
At Cleveland or at Alcoa?
Oak Ridge.
Oh, I don't know if he is or not. I don't know if Aaron Green's up there or not.
I'm not sure where he's coaching, but Aaron and the
Was he,
new UTC coach and some others are in town today having a meeting with the Cleveland coaches to talk basketball.
Yeah. Now, Aaron was from Ray County originally. Was that where he's
He
from?
was from Sweetwater.
Sweetwater. Yeah, I knew it was somewhere around
His
here.
dad-
Sweetwater.
Yeah.
His
So-
dad was the coach up there.
And he married Paige Redmond, too,
That's
a
right.
good basketball player.
Yep.
Yes.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yeah, are you still taking calls about the football?
We're taking calls about anything you're going to talk about.
Okay, there's 3 played in the late 50s for Bradley. Charlie Snyder, J.L. Hinkle, and Rex Dockery.
Mm-hmm.
and Charlie was the captain, and Dale was the assistant captain of the team.
Excellent. So you like to watch them play?
Well, I wasn't around during that time.
Okay, well.
Charlie Schneider was a good player.
Charlie was a good player.
Yeah, they said he was, and Dale was too, and we all know what all Rex Dockery done for the sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought I'd call. And
Okay, well, thanks for listening. Hope you've enjoyed the show today.
All right, thank you.
Now, I'm off the subject. Doyle, do you know where the original American uniform was located?
My knowledge of the American uniform was when it was there by Bradley.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was somewhere
Well,
else down here in the downtown area. We've seen
Was
some
it?
pictures of it, and we're trying to figure out where that actually was.
It was actually at the Cleveland Works exhibit the other day, and we could not tell, but we could see a 3-story building in the background. So we assumed that was Hardwick Woolen Mills. It almost have to be. And so I'm just thinking maybe one of our listeners will know and call us right after the show goes off.
Well, we're at that time. Final comments there, Doyle. Got anything?
Really enjoyed this show today with Sylvia and Ed. We've talked about a lot of things, brought back a lot of memories, and I just say thank you to all of the wonderful young people that I've had an opportunity to work with during my lifetime in the area.
Well, Doyle, you've been a very great person. Like I say, you assistant
I got an answer
football coach when I played, and I've known you now for 40-something years, and really do appreciate our relationship there. Sylvia?
I'm thankful, too, that I had the opportunity to play at Bradley and know so many wonderful people through the years with our sons playing and all the things that Ed has done. I feel really fortunate to be a part of the sports here in Bradley County, and also all the people I worked with and taught at Cleveland High School, and I'm glad I got to coach you guys, too. So thank you very much for having me here today.
Well, thank you, Sylvia. And like I say, part of a legendary program, the Bradley Barretts and Jim Smitty being a part of that is just a unbelievable. Like I say, all of you guys are still that's a sisterhood, I guess you call it, and that's really good.
It really is, and I love the team this year too. I'm expecting some great things from them.
And Ed almost taught me how to be really great at badminton, except how to beat girls. Go ahead, Ed. You got a final comment?
And last but not least, this is Ed Coates signing off, and I would like to say that there couldn't have been a better place in the United States that I ended up after I left
That's
New
right.
York.
Great place to raise
It's
kids.
a great place to live and raise a family, and both Sylvia and I are now enjoying our grandkids, Cash and Kale, the two little boys from Eddie and Angela. One is 7 and one is 5, and we're starting to go to all the ball games, as most of the grandparents do. So we're excited about that.
You know, it's Ed was born Yankee, but he got here as soon as he could, right? That's right. As soon as he got a little smarter and he left and come on. Ed, we're so glad you did come here and everything, and really enjoyed you and
thank you.
And all the teasing that I give you and
Okay,
everything.
I've got an answer to my question.
All right.
Now, Randy Fox tells me his dad worked for American Uniform, and it was there where the flooring place is now, behind the old Penny Sandwich Shop, the intersection of McCoy Street and Broad Street. And I asked him about the tracks, and he said, well, there may have been another one, because in the picture you can see a side track, a railroad tracks, but I assume that those tracks could have been running most anywhere.
Right. Well, that's
Well, thanks, Randy.
Things have changed. Like to say thank you, folks, today, and just don't forget, high school starts back here soon, and there'll be a lot of sports coming up. Go out and see a Bradley football game, Cleveland football game, Walker Valley. Go to the Bradley Polk County game, unbelievable game. And if you've never been to a beautiful stadium, Polk County Stadium has a great. If the moon comes up over that mountain right over that is just one of those unbelievable pictures. Great food up there, great place to go, great atmosphere. Our Bradley Cleveland games, always a good thing to go to. Now Bradley Walker Valley Cleveland, all those are good games to go to.
I'd like to say thanks to Ron and Debbie, because you make it fun coming here. So don't ever dread it if you're coming here, because they make it so much fun.
I always appreciate Doyle. I can call him up if someone's canceled on me on Wednesday night and say, Doyle, can you come in and help? And he'll say yes. And he says, what are you, he'll tell me yes, and then he'll say, what are we talking about? Or like this week, we saw him not too long ago, and I asked him to come on today and to find us people. And so he set up the whole show, and I really appreciate
Well,
that.
we were talking to him at the fair, and he says, I got two people in mind, Sylvia Coates or Chuck Kondo. He picked the better of the two. He really
I
did.
hope Chuck isn't listening.
Well, we think we're
Chuck's
going to...
I hope he is listening.
Chuck,
Chuck is over at Cleveland today with their clinic.
but I think that he'll come on and do a future show with us, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Chuck,
thanks,
if you'd like to come on, I'd like to recommend it. Ron and Debbie do a great job making you feel at home. The only downside I'd say is probably the pay.
Yeah, the pay is really low. Yeah,
You got paid the same thing I did today, Ed.
that's right.
You get one bottle of water.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Well, one call here before we got out of here. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, you was talking about the sidetracks at American Uniform?
Yes.
Here we go.
There was a branch of American Uniform was down on Euclid Avenue, and there was tracks run in front of it. But it was a branch off of the one that was up there behind Bradley.
Did it have an old brick office building sort of stuck out of the building?
Yes.
Well, that's probably where this picture is from.
That's where I took Ron this morning. I think they had a lot of different locations.
Yeah, it used to be called Waterhouse Street, but now it's Euclid Avenue.
Right.
Absolutely. I think you're in the right ballpark.
And right beside of it was a big lumber yard.
Yep.
Yep.
All righty.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have great listeners.
All right, folks.
That know where all the stuff
we always
used to
try
be.
to. We end the show by saying is, go talk to your grandmothers and your mothers and aunts and uncles and start writing down this history, recording the history in voice. You can take your telephone out and take videos of them now. One of my greatest treasures is a audio recording of my grandfather that my cousin did, Bruce Epperson. I matter of fact, he's on the screen there next to Andy Ballinger right now, and he took just a cassette recording, and it's great to hear my grandfather's voice again and the stories he told about his father and his grandfather, and it was really amazing. I encourage you to do that. Go grab the pictures out from under the bed, out of the drawers, out of the shoe boxes, and get them out and have people start identifying who they are. And share some of those great pictures. You'll be surprised what people see in those old pictures, old locations and things like that. We'll always remember about Pearl Harbor, but will we remember about your street? Will we remember about your family and the businesses you worked in? It's up to you to save the history. Next week, the class of 68 from Cleveland High School is going to bring their reunion people in here. And August 31st, a very special show. No live demonstrations, but we're talking about the snake handling churches in Dolly Pond and around through here. Hey, folks, we'll see you next week here on Old Town Cleveland.
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into